All right. Hello, everybody. Um, I'm going to be folding a new pattern today that I've never folded before. And I'm going to have, um, I'm just arranging things on my laptop to make it easier to see everything that I want to see here. I'm going to be folding actually on a new kind of paper. This looks like Skytone. It's pretty much the same gold color, the same crinkliness as we're used to with Skytone, but it's actually a paper called Astroparche that I was introduced to by my local paper distributor, who helps me get the massive quantities of paper for my paper packs, because Skytone is out of stock this month, at least in the weight that I want for the paper packs for Advent of Tess. So I'm going to be demonstrating that this new paper is pretty much identical to Skytone, and I won't be able to get gold in the Advent of Tess paper packs, but that is something I plan to get eventually. And good morning, everyone who's saying hi in the chat. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is going to be using an unusual twist that I haven't used in many patterns before. I was trying to think back, and I actually have used it once before, but only with 6 of them. Today we're going to get a lot more. And it's very much like an open hexagon twist, but it has 2 double depth plates on these sides instead of those being single depth plates and there being a single depth plate on the 6th side. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have my crease pattern over on the monitor over there. And oh, I'm glad that you folded daisy chains. That's awesome. That was, I think, the very first tessellation I ever folded. So I'm looking at my crease pattern and seeing where do I need to put these first folds. And I'm starting with 6 triangles around the center. I'm going to be putting in this pleat 3 spaces to the right of the center, and my next valley needs to be 3 spaces below this point. And this is just reading off the crease pattern. I'm using a 64 fold edge aligned grid in case anyone wants to try and duplicate this, but this is not really a tutorial. This is demonstrating how I problem solve with a new twist, new tiling, brand new pattern I've never folded before. So I've got that first triangle, and then there's going to be 3 spaces between triangles. So one's tucked under, 1, 2, and then we get the next one. And I'll go ahead and zoom in a bit. And not quite that far. There we go. And so yeah, so far this paper is behaving very much like Skytone. It has the crinkle sounds of Skytone. It's behaving as I would expect. And I have a suspicion that this could be a very quick pattern to fold because those new twists take up so much grid. So I actually do have another pattern started that we might get into by the end of the hour. I wouldn't usually anticipate that a piece done on 64 grid divisions would take less than an hour, but this might be an exception. So the locations of these triangle twists were determined by what's going to happen next, and not the other way around, because I'm working with some pretty tight constraints for the next repeating motifs. So let's see. I've got everything here in the same orientation as my crease pattern. Ooh, earlier I was working ahead and did day 24 of the upcoming Advent of Tess series. It's very exciting. Yeah, you can see the hybrid hexagon twists. I've got tutorials for all of the hybrid hexagons that we'll be using in Advent of Tess, and there's like 7 of them. So this is very much achievable. So looking at my spacing here, I've got 3 spaces between parallel valleys. This is going to go to a twist on the other side, so I'm going to go ahead and make that a compound wrap instead of a complete overlap. And so I've got 1 single depth, 1 single depth. I need another single depth like it's going into an open hexagon. And I can also see on the crease pattern that these parallel mountain folds are 3 spaces apart. And then the next fold, the mountain comes in like it's going around an open hexagon, but then the valley is 2 spaces away. And this one, the valley comes in like it's an open hexagon, but the mountain is 2 spaces away. And I get this teardrop. I may as well zoom in some more. And this will squash just like the open hexagon. And I'm gonna have, oh yeah, this is nice paper to work with, and it's very pretty. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on a whole carton of like 4,000 sheets of this, because this color is not available in Skytone anymore without a special order. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and do the alternating teardrops around the center as we go around. And I'm going to have a consistent pattern of spacing on the 2 sides. And let's see, the one coming from the existing triangle is the middle of my single depth pleats. So this is me figuring out a new tiling. I haven't worked with this arrangement of shapes before. So I'm going to leave that overlap of double depth pleats for now. It's making the grid slightly crunchy, but I'll leave it be until I see exactly what needs to happen where. And get the rest of these in place. Welcome spot. Welcome star origami. So I'm using these teardrops that I haven't used before that cause interesting problems because they're not just single depth pleats, they're also double depth. But that's okay, and we can get that all resolved, and I'm hoping to find a tiling break. I'm fairly optimistic about finding a tiling break. Not 100%, but we shall see. And this, since everything on the inside of twists is also on the same orientation of grid lines, I'm just going to fold through. Good morning, Chris. Bright and early for you on the West Coast. And I can get the rest of these guys in place. This plate I'm going to fold closed all the way before I put in my double depth in the other direction. Okay. So that's the 6 teardrops around the 6 triangles. Now we have pleat overlaps everywhere. I'm going to be putting in a double depth triangle just off the corners of these pointy tips of the teardrops. And we'll see soon why I call this pattern Fidget Spinners. Because there's going to be 3 of these teardrops around each of these triangles. So that was the motif that I was slotting in place. And then figuring out where everything else went around it. And let's see what happens with the pleat overlaps if I go ahead and put this next one in. And flipping over, let's, hard to decide which way to go around here. Let's go with this one. Any pleat I'm not immediately working with, I'm just keeping folded and letting it be an overlap. And I've got enough leeway in here that I can kind of flip back that pleat that's already going to an existing twist while I squash the closed triangle. And then I can bring up more of these pleats. There's definitely a lot of pattern matching from the open hexagon twist that's transferring to these teardrop twists. Like if you've done mixed depth hexagon twists, then this should be relatively straightforward. And let's see if I can get to a tiling break on this. So that's a double depth pleat going in. I'm gonna need a double depth pleat. Yeah, no, that's not going to be resolving more than we open up. So I'm gonna leave those for now. And then flipping over here. Yeah, I'm not getting super great pleat overlaps. Like, I'm not having friendly overlaps to open necessarily. But that's kind of to be expected with a new tiling. I just haven't been messing with it long enough to see what the nice orders are. And squashing that triangle. And sticking my single depth pleats on. So I'm kind of cueing off of this double depth pleat going into, out to, and then my next pleat is going in one, out one, etc. And then over here, again, lots of overlaps, lots of pleat management, but I knew I wouldn't have good tiling breaks, so that's okay. And getting this guy going. And you might notice at this stage, I'm really not even looking at the crease pattern anymore. You can see my focus is down on the paper instead of on the next screen over. Because I have all the information I need right here. The crease pattern isn't really going to give me anything extra. So we're almost back around to where we started. Then I'll have to figure out a new set of moves. And we've got a ton of pleat overlaps on all the sides. But that's okay. At least they're consistent on all the sides. And I know I usually talk about getting rid of all the overlaps. Yeah, that was what attracted me to this idea for a pattern too, Arlo. The drops turning around a triangle. And I was like, I wonder if I can get that to happen on both sides. And turns out, yes. Yes, you can. So this is going to feed into the next drop. So I'm going to pop it here to make it easier to find. And then this is coming between two drops. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the triangle above and triangle wrap below that belongs there. And I did a quick check of looking at the other repeats to see my spacing there. And let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3 single depth pleats. This double depth is headed to a twist on the other side, so I may as well get that more squared away, but in doing so, need to be careful to, because this is a double depth over a single depth. I just made up a new compound wrap to make that lay flat. Single depth over double depth is pretty straightforward, but double over single, not so much. And there we have a full motif. A fidget spinner, if you will. And I'm going to go around this way this time, getting that wrap out. Got a double depth followed by a single depth, which means I need 2 more single depths over here. Yeah, that looks right symmetrically. And we're feeding into another one over here. Single, single, feeding into triangles. This is actually gonna be 3 triangles in there. Probably could have found the triangles first, but I didn't feel like it. That remaining double depth is coming out through there. And again, with that weird compound wrap. So only one of the 2 pleats that are part of the double depth is participating in the compound wrap. It's a little wild. I don't think I had done that before. So when I say like what I'm doing is just bouncing things around until it works out, that is very accurate. I can squash these triangles. And then I'm going to have a single depth running into the double depth that I can find my other pleats for. And it does look like we're going to end up with a tiling break. It does look like we're going to finish this rather quickly. And then the next things are going to be triangles. So I can go ahead and set those up first this time instead of doing the, that's a crunchy overlap. But you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in the next teardrop so I'm not getting too much overlap. And then let's see what happens if we just let this overlap there instead of doing the crazy wrap. It'll be an unfriendly overlap, but whatever. Flipping over. Got these 2 triangles to squash. Now you really see these fidget spinners taking shape. Now that unfriendly overlap comes out okay. Gives me space for the next teardrop. And then, let's see, I'm gonna open things up, but then set these triangles first, and then, okay, so we've got a 2 in, 2 out, 1 in, 1 out, then put in the new pleats for the new teardrop. You can see I'm evolving a bit. I'm putting in this sequence as I'm going around. And fun fact, not once in this entire sequence have I thought about whether a particular twist is right or left-handed. And then opening this guy up. A single in there, a single here. One little thing that I did right here, instead of mandating that that tip at the corner tuck under, I just popped it a little bit. I can do that. Well, actually not right there too. I can sometimes do that, and it prevents a little bit of strain on the edge of the paper. So this, I'm opening up and setting the first 2 of the 3 triangles that I know are going to go there in place. And opening a bit more. One thing, when the single depth is on top of the double depth, it's really easy to tell where the corner of the puffy hexagon star is. But when the double depth is on top, you've got to really pay attention and make sure that you're going 2 in, 2 out to get to that corner. Welcome, Zach. Bienvenido. Oh, and just so everyone is on the same like information wavelength, this, like what I've been folding in these live streams has been alternate endings to Advent of Tess for this year, but I finished folding those and I finished putting together the ebook for this year. So all of those crease patterns are now available at gatheringfolds.com for 25 bucks. Of course, if you already have the all access pass, then you already have those. But everyone can get crease patterns for all the alternate endings for Advent of Tess right now. And just logged back into my computer because apparently I wasn't touching the mouse enough. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3 single depth. And there we go. And coming around the home stretch here, And I also want to mention that Zach has been doing some excellent folding with hybrid hexagon twists lately. He's been showing me a lot of stuff that he's not necessarily posting yet that is really awesome and fun. It looks like a lot of fun to fold. So I just wanted to give that shout out while you're here. Okay. And flipping. And one more. And it's going to have triangles with it. So this is a double depth on the bottom. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to double check my crease pattern real quick and see if we would even get full repeats if I did any more. And no, we're not going to get any more full repeats. So I'm going to leave it at that for fidget spinners. And this is one that would work really well on a grid that's perpendicular to the edge too. So that would be cutting off like this. But this is a pretty good result also. And we get those spinners around the triangle twist centers on both sides. Then I want to pull out another piece I'm working on. So since I finished the Advent of Tess preparation pieces, I'm free to work on all the strange things that have been bubbling up in my imagination all year. And this one uses a type of hybrid hexagon twist that I explored in the square twist realm, but not necessarily the hexagon twist realm. So this is a open double open threefold hybrid hexagon twist. And I'm just gonna fold a bit here because, you know, got some spare time, may as well. Actually, this pleat's gonna go that way to get the triangle where it needs to go. And let's see, this can be a little confusing to set up. I'm just gonna go for it. Ooh, yeah, backlighting on fidget spinners, we can absolutely do that. Grab that. Let there be light. Okay. So we get these little trapezoid holes in each of the teardrops. the same on the other side. So this pattern, it really eats grid. But let's see, if 1, 2, 3, 4, you could easily go 4 grid spacings in on either side, so 8 grid spacings in 56 grid divisions and get the same amount on there. But 64 is nice and easy too. Okay. So this one, you set up the mountain folds like you're going to make a mixed depth, like a 3-fold mixed depth hexagon twist, but they're all single depth pleats. This 2, and here I'm going to run into not quite issues, but definitely overlap bonanza. Okay, that's all in place. I'm going to start by tucking these points. This is very much not a squash all from one side kind of twist. This is a, you poke at it and things start to wrinkle. So you go and poke at it from the other side with the bone folder. You're welcome, Svet. You can always come back and watch the end whenever you like. So going around and pinching those next folds into place, encouraging these corners to go all the way out into the corner, because what ends up happening is there ends up being a triple open triangle twist stuck on top of these tucked open hexagon type corners. And then I'm gonna go and put see. There we go. Oh boy. Okay, so that's there. That triangle really wants to be squashed right now. And I'm holding this very gently so I can get the next twist in place without adding new creases that I don't need. And I'm going to try first putting a compound wrap in on this pleat to give myself a little more space. I'll put the double open, yes, this, another improvised wrap. I've got 3 plates going in and 1 double depth plate coming out. Like 3 single depth plates going in, 1 double depth coming out. Lots of things you can do when there's no rules. And that's gonna need triangles up here. So this one has been on my queue to fold since like early this year. Maybe like 8 months or something. I have a long queue. There's like 60 things on it. But 2 fewer as of today. And yeah, this one is Skytone. The Skytone is slightly stiffer, but not hugely different. And then get that going. And that is going to need triangles too. You can see I fold a little bit differently in tutorials compared to on my own. When I'm folding just for myself, those triangle wraps just kind of happen. That tucked, and that tucked, and that tucked. I would not want to be pre-creasing everything for this pattern. That would be a bit of a pain. And even for the folding I am doing, I could try and crease that with my bone folder, but I would rather flip over and let the paper solve it and pinch. Pinch. That's also subtly at the same time getting these corners to start spreading so that when I come back, those corners are more happy to be where I want them to be. This one's slightly unhappy, but it's okay. And we'll see how far I get on this in the next 10 minutes. But we will find out. Okay, so I'm going to want a wrap there. That will fold there. That's there. It's there. And different edges, like different sets of parallel pleats, are going to have slightly different sequences for this one because this is in the hexagons and triangles threefold tiling, where we have 6 triangles directly in the middle and then 6 hexagons directly surrounding that. And as you do rings further out, then you end up with some edges with one type of hexagon closer into the middle and some rings with those hexagons closer to the edge. Like on this edge, these double open hexagons are closer to the edge, and on this edge they're closer to the middle than these hexagons. So, okay, opening these crazy overlaps. This also wants to go straight through an existing twist. And this actually we're going to go ahead and compound wrap, which I can do without opening this bit down here. And I'm just going to squash gently in here, so I'm not adding new creases in here. And then when I flip over, that is free to squash. Now, if I remember correctly, the easiest way to do this is going to be a weird situation where we actually do this hexagon first and then go back for this one. That's gonna do that 3 plates coming in like it's a closed hexagon and just tuck it under thing. So I know some of my students have been like really focusing on compound wraps lately and saying that there's a lot of different ways to do compound wraps. Well, today we looked at a couple more. And it's always like popping up new ones as you try new patterns. It's just comes with the territory of folding. Okay. I do want to go ahead and put those triangles in. And likewise, these triangles. Even if I'm gonna lay them down for now. Actually, that's stable enough. I can go ahead and squash the triangles and they can help stabilize the rest of the twist. And yeesh. Okay. Get the tuck. And somewhat accurate tuck. And tuck. Now we'll go back and finesse that. And now happy triangle corners. Mostly. Here's our other triangle wrap. And this one I did know that the tiling break would happen and that it would be pretty close to the edge of the paper. Here, I want another triangle there. And I can go ahead and just make that happen. We're at 3 minutes till the top of the hour, but I'm so close to finishing. May as well. And I'll go ahead and, well, I think I'll go ahead and do the next triangles too, just to get pleats out of the way. Even though it's going to run stuff back into, well, towards what I've already folded. But having these triangles out of the way is going to be really helpful when I go to fold this twist. And that triangle I can go ahead and squash. Very 3D area right there. And then yes, that is a much nicer platform to work on than if I had 2 more pleats coming through. So for these complex twists, I'm preparing the ground, then setting up the pleats, then doing the tweaks, and then like finessing on the back, making sure everything is good to go. And with this pattern, at least, I've noticed that it's generally easier to get the double open hexagon out of the way, so to speak. So on the last set of parallel pleats, I was doing the double open hexagon because it was the inner twist first, but now it's the outer twist, and I'm still doing it first because the pleat overlaps next to it are simpler. And if I'm squashing right over an existing pleat, I don't care as much. Because it doesn't need quite as much precision. And this one, really want to get this pleat out of the way. That's going to wrap for a triangle. It's still causing problems. It comes through here, so I'm going to compound wrap this one. And now and I'm also going to set up a bunch of compoundy things over that pair of pleats. And that's all going to sit tight. And you can go ahead and put in those corners. Yeah, so this very, very general hybrid hexagon twist is not nearly as nice to squash as the ones between the closed and open hybrid hexagons. And that's because the central folds in these hybrids are not on grid lines, which is a bit of a pain in the rear. And I'll go ahead and squash this triangle. And then the level of pleat overlaps, that's just due to the tiling. That we can't blame on the twist. And gently, gently in there. Go ahead, reorder this overlap before I flip. And again, gently with 3D areas. You're gonna get one more of these double opens. Oh, Nancy, actually the gold one that I folded first is the Astroparche, but the tan is Skytone. I do have plenty of Skytone for my own folding supply. It's just the paper packs are quickly outstripping my my reserves. It's going to be one spacing further up. So I do have a carton of the Astroparche ordered that'll come in by the time I get back from Lyon to start filling in some of the paper packs. And hopefully at some point I'll get a carton of the gold Astroparche. The color that I ordered is going to be more similar to this natural color. Let's see. And we're on the final few twists. Okay. Doom, 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 doom. So I'm going to make sure those are nice from this side. And as I'm looking at these weird hybrid hexagons, the ones in the center are looking a bit more wonky to me. Like this one seems to have a bit of a curve in the edge. This corner is a bit off. But as I'm working my way further and further out, they're getting better. So even I must practice my twists before they look particularly nice. And it looks like squashed. Oh, nope. One more triangle. Thought I was missing a triangle. So I've got 1 and 2 and 1 and 1, 1 and 2 and 1, 1, 1. Missing one here. It's always worthwhile to count your triangles on the edges. And then on the other side, I've got 2, 2, and 2. And 1s everywhere else. Good. So I call this one Strange Quark. Very physics oriented names this week. Like the pattern I'm posting out is called Local Group. It's a reference to the local cluster of galaxies that we're in. This one's Strange Quark on the opposite side of the size scale. Yep. So that's what's going on here. We also saw Fidget Spinners with the new paper, the Astroparche. And no worries, Nancy, it changed very suddenly. So happy folding, everyone. And I will see some of you this afternoon for a Tessellations by Tiles office hour, Tessellations by Tiles and Starter Sequence combined office hour. Some of you tomorrow for a Tessellation Academy theory and design workshop. And some of you not live again for a couple weeks because I'm going to be traveling. There will be videos out the next 2 weeks, but I will not be live in person. So happy folding, everyone, and see you later.